So Nipsey Hussle's accused killer, or the alleged shooter of Nipsey Hussle, Eric Holder, this guy in this picture right here, right? Hold up, before we get to this, man, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Hey, shout out to everybody who did already. You already know. So Eric Holder is the guy pictured in this picture right here, right? And that is the scene where Nipsey Hussle lost his life, before the shooting took place and all that, right? Now, Eric Holder was found guilty of shooting Nipsey Hussle, you know what I mean? And he's been in jail awaiting sentencing. So it seems like he went to one sentencing hearing and then something happened there. And during the him being transferred between sentencing hearing back to the jail that he's being maintained at, he got the beats put on him by somebody, man. So shout out to that dude, man. He caught him slipping and put the beats on him. Now, I am not trying to encourage any violence. I'm not personally involved in this situation either way. It just seemed the way that Nipsey Hussle lost his life, we lost a great dude to somebody who's not his equivalent. We'll say that much, right? And dude seemed like he was off one. A lot of different stories said Nipsey was as usual, respectful to dude, and he came back shooting, and maybe dude was just on one, you know what I mean? But his lawyer and his legal team has been a story, man. Remember, his very first lawyer was Christopher Darden. I don't know if you guys remember that. Christopher Darden was Eric Holder's first attorney. He said he was going to work for him pro bono. And I said, okay, that makes sense. Now, for those of you who don't know, Christopher Darden was one of the prosecutors in the O.J. Simpson trial. Christopher Darden has had an itch in his back, something against the hip-hop community ever since he was shunned, dissed in rap songs after the O.J. Simpson trial. There were numerous rap songs where Marsha Clark, Christopher Darden were dissed, you know what I mean? Because at the time, he was looked at a certain way for going against OJ, which looks wild today. I'm not definitely not defending any of that, right? But since then, it seemed like he had an issue with hip hop, man. So when he jumped on the legal defense team pro bono for Eric Holder, it just kind of, I looked at it, I was like, okay, this dude's still mad at hip hop. Now, since dude had dropped off the squad, Eric Holder picked up another attorney. Now, after he picked up that attorney, this guy pretty much tried everything in the book, man. He was pretty much the person who put that thing out there that Nipsey called him a snitch. You know what I mean? That he tried everything you could think of. And none of it worked because the jury still found Eric Holder guilty. That clap got me questioning myself. Who am I rooting for here, man? I usually stick with the rappers, so we good. Now, recently, and when I say recently, just yesterday, a judge rejected the defense to bid the reduced murder conviction in Nipsey Hussle shooting. So meaning, Eric Holder's defense team, basically tried to get his charges reduced. So let's get to the story. Now, an attorney for Eric Holder had called on the first-degree murder conviction to be reduced to second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter. So they want Eric Holder's charge to be dropped to a voluntary manslaughter charge in the Nipsey Hussle murder case. Are you kidding me? Like, bruh. Ain't no way in the world. Ain't no way, bruh. Like, we seen it clear as day in the video, what took place, what went down. Even Cowboy's story ended up, making sense when we really looked at the visuals from it. It just all made sense when people were saying they had no reason to lie. Only person who probably had a reason to lie would be Eric Holder. And it seemed like his lawyer tried everything possible and it still didn't work. And now they're trying to grasp at straws. They're trying to find a judge that they can pass this off on and try to find him a way back to the streets eventually. And I don't think that's going to happen, man. You know what I mean?
Bruh.
There you go. Button didn't want to work. Now, a judge Monday rejected a defense bid to have a first-degree murder charge or conviction reduced to a second-degree murder of voluntary manslaughter for the man who fatally shot rapper Nipsey Hussle in front of the musician's South Los Angeles clothing store. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge H. Clay Jackie, also denied a defense motion for a new trial for Eric Holder Jr., whose sentencing was scheduled for February 2022. Now, defense attorney Aaron Jansen had called on the murder conviction to be reduced to voluntary manslaughter. Now, what's wild is him getting a voluntary manslaughter charge would see Eric Holder back on the streets. And that's probably something that some people might want that, to be real with you, and not for the right reasons. You feel me? But what's crazy is his legal team stays fighting for him like they're supposed to. Everybody has a right to representation, right? But who is paying? Are all these lawyers pro bono? Who is paying for these lawyers that he's getting, man? I don't want to go into spooky territory, but spooky territory, but yeah. All right, so in quotes, to be consistent with the other two verdicts in which Holder Jr. was convicted of attempted voluntary manslaughter rather than the more serious charge of attempted murder involving two other people who were injured in the 2019 shooting. So there were other people who were injured in the shooting. Remember, there was a guy who had just got out of jail. He was shot as well. So it looks like his charges, in those cases, they wanted to try to get those reduced to the same. So that way he has the same charges across the board. Judge said, ain't no way in the world. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the judge on that one. Now, he's still awaiting sentencing. It's been this long and he's still awaiting sentencing. Now, Holder is facing a potential life prison term. And for most people, that would be justified because the thought of him being released or getting any type of lenient sentence, that might cause an uproar. There's a lot of people who have spoken about that or talked about that recently, right? So it goes on to continue to say that 32-year-old defendant was convicted July 6th of one count each of first-degree murder and possession of a firearm by a felon, along with 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter and assault with a firearm. So those are the charges that he was convicted of. First-degree murder and possession of a firearm and 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter and assault with a firearm. So he's done, man. It's looking like a life sentence. Now, jurors also found true allegations that he personally and intentionally discharged a handgun and that he personally inflicted great bodily injury on one of the victims. Deputy District Attorney John McKinney told jurors during the trial that the killing was cold-blooded and calculated, saying Holder had quite a bit of time of premeditation and deliberation before returning to the parking lot near Slauson Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard, where the rapper was shot 10 to 11 times. So they tried to go with a heat of passion defense in this situation, which is, common in situations where somebody has a shocking situation happen to them and then they react overboard. But in this case, the judge wasn't going for it. Now, Holder had no cooling off period after being publicly called a snitch by someone as famous as Nipsey Hussle. So that's what his lawyer was running on, saying that somebody famous like Nipsey Hussle calling him a snitch just put him over the edge. It took him to a place where he couldn't control his actions. He had to go back and shoot him. And he had no cooling off period in between that. Now, what's crazy is we've seen the video. After his talk with Nipsey Hussle and Cowboy and all the other guys in the parking lot, you can see in that picture, he goes into a restaurant. He comes back out, goes into a car, then goes around the block, comes back around, jumps out the car, and then shoots Nipsey Hussle and the other 2 guys. So, man, all in all, it seems like Eric Holder and his legal team are trying to stop the inevitable, right? They're trying to stop him from getting a life sentence, and that's what any good lawyer would do. But in this case, with the video evidence and what we've seen ourselves and the public and what we saw afterwards and everything that's taken place in court as far as the testimony from renowned gang members like Cowboy and other people, obviously, man, the guilty conviction seems like it was hit right on the head. You know what I'm saying? That's what it seems like to me. So it looks like Eric Holder, man, as far as him getting any leniency in this situation, I think he's just trying to delay the inevitable. So when his sentencing finally comes down, don't be surprised if it's a life sentence. Now, hopefully you enjoyed that story, but do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I do one of these updates. And we out of here. Peace.